Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill, got another video for you today, and this is a continuation of our test server Save the Universe content, a part of Save the Universe Season 2 is what I'm referring to it as. This is Kandor Central Tower, or KCT. This is the elite version of it, so this is the new, supposed to be the upscaled version of it, but what's actually harder than KCT Elite is actually talking about the raid KCT for 16 minutes. That'll be my greatest challenge, much more than this raid offered. This came out July 2016, if memory serves, and when it came out, it was largely dismissed as a raid. I mean, when this came out, all it was like a comp raid between like munitions, ice, gadgets, and mental at the time, because you had ads that munitions could big gun, you had some single target boss fights with ads, gadgets and mentals were good, you had easy ice farm. The bosses do no mechanics. They have absolutely no mechanics besides a couple like floor fire field. Doomsday has mechanics, supposedly, on the last boss. Spoiler if you've never seen KCT, the boss at the end is Doomsday. But his mechanics, even when it released, were so, like, didn't have any effect that we just largely ignored them. And even then, what you'll see at the end of this raid is that the mechanics, I'll talk more about that when Doomsday comes, but they're not even present in the raid. So, the other part of KCT is its very long cutscenes. So, I mean, even with this being 16 minutes, it's really much longer than that. So the other part is the gameplay. You get to watch me with slow artifact switches, because apparently my key bindings are different from live server to test server, which I was unaware of. I guess I actually haven't. I usually just do like tanking and controlling and not healing, but usually just tanking in test server raids. I don't as DPS as much, and apparently all my key bindings are different. So I couldn't summon my ally. I was trying to switch it correctly there. But the first fight is General Zod. Really, I mean, I think you'll see like 2 healers or a tank in this one. You really don't. I mean, this is just all like a burn, like tank and spank. I mean, you're gonna have these fire fields on the ground. They're gonna be damage. We arc damage towards each other, but I mean, with like Page of Destiny, Purple Healing Ray, the Superman ally shields. I mean, there's so much damage mitigation now that you really don't have to worry about it. So really, once you kill Zod, then it's the second part of the first fight, which is going to be Lex Luthor and Superboy. I think I saved you that animation because Superboy's character model is awful. So, I would not want to be looking at Superboy in a cutscene that long. He looks like a clay like model almost. No definition whatsoever. And we have at least the updated Superman model was in this one, and Supergirl as far as I know. I'm not sure about Lex or Zod or anything like that. The funny thing too was even like the comic book enthusiasts hated the story of KCT. It was just another one like, oh, we got teleported like Kandor, and like we're like Zod is trying to convince us or something like that. Superboy to side with him and against the Kryptonians, and Lex is like, okay, here I'm gonna fight you guys. Then here's Doomsday, and then peace out. Is weird. I mean, it's a weird story. I mean, the whole like episode when it came out was largely forgettable. I can understand why they bring this back, a part of the Superman content, because I mean, we already had Save the Universe Season 1 with the Superman release, so I mean, there's only so many like Superman themed like episodes or raids or content that they can use. So I understand that, especially with kind of the double Superman release with Darkseid War Factory being the second raid. So really, there's no way to make KCT difficult. I mean, unless you're gonna like create new mechanics, but the whole point of Save the Universe was not to create like brand new things. It was really just to upscale old content to new, to give players, because I mean, a lot of people, I mean, the last time I ran KCT was definitely during AM days. I have not even touched KCT since they set stats revamp, not even once. So not even like Omnibus. So I mean, there's a lot of people that started playing DC Universe Online after 2016, so I can completely understand that the KCT would be a new raid to them. So, I mean, they're not going to add a bunch of new stuff. I mean, technically, there's like these crystal shards on Lex Luthor. I forget entirely what they do, but the controller can basically run them. And I mean, technically, you arc damage here. Like, yeah, it puts a shield on one player and you get close to them and arcs. But I mean, that's easily going to be covered by healing. And then there's the basic flame pools and stuff like that. And Lex Luthor does Lex Luthor's the same as SM, so he's going to do his orbital strike that you have to roll out of, and his hand blaster attacks. So I mean, everyone knows Lex Luthor from survival mode, so that's not going to be any different. But the concept, like, I know the Save the Universe is supposed to be like a distraction, so I understand that. I'm not expecting miracles of the Save the Universe. If anything, I'm actually happy that we have a somewhat like super straightforward, easy farm pug elite raid, because don't forget we also have those feats that we have to worry about for Save the Universe, which I think is like what 50 elite feats or 50 elite raids. So, I mean, if the elite version of this pugging with like 2 healers that we didn't need, and I think we had 2 tanks at one point that we didn't need. I mean, this raid would drop from 20 minutes to probably like 10, 15 minutes, if that. So really, if you got to farm a raid 50 times, this is going to be the one to do it in. And then if you have to farm for the two, I think it's good. I think the raids go up to 250. I'm almost positive they go up to 250. I don't think they go beyond that. I didn't farm that the first time. I just did the basic ones because I was not playing that often. But yeah, so if you have to do this event version or regular version just to count towards that 250 counter, I mean, that'll be super easy. I mean, that'll be less than 10 minutes. So, I mean, it'll be super boring, but I mean, it's also straightforward because there's no ads on the boss fights. That's the other thing too. I mean, you got Superboy. Technically, is a second set of ads. That's about it. It's nowhere near the like. That's the one funny thing I guess with survival mode, or not survival mode, but the Save the Universe Season 2. Is that the stark difference between the contents they chose. So I'm not taking a look at the solos because both solos were super easy anyway. But you're going from KCT to Darkside War Factory, so you're going from literally one end of the spectrum to one of the easiest raids that DC has ever released to one of the hardest raids DC has ever released. So I mean, I'm not sure if that was their intention because once again, like the Superman content is limited. But the same thing they did for the alerts. We go from Smallville. Smallville was like a really long alert because it was so huge, and it was because of one of the original alerts. So back then, like, you were used to spending like an hour in the alert. Like, trying to remember the alert now. Why can't I remember it? I don't know. There was. It's bugging me now. It's the island one. It's the prison. Why can't I'm drawing a blank? You're fighting like Mr. Freeze, then you fight like Ivy. I know everyone's going to correct me in the comments, and I'm going to kick myself after this commentary, but for life of me, I can't remember that alert. But that alert itself was like an hour and a half. When that was the daily marker Krypton, that was like an hour and a half alert. And it was just like, well, that sucks. And then Inner Sanctum came out as a 4-player alert, and that was like an hour long too. But I'm just meaning like Smallville was always easy. It was never difficult. If anything, it was a fun little glitch you could do because you could stay the Doom form throughout the entire raid, or not throughout the entire raid, throughout the end of the alert. If you like ran outside the window, I'm not sure if that actually still works, but I think they fixed it. When you actually ran outside the map and you can keep the Doom form and make Doomsday really easy. But that alert is super easy. It's just long and drawn out. And then you compare that to the Volcano Mining Facility where we've got like Lex, the final boss, was still really annoying. And then we've got a Mazo as a boss, which I guess was like the parting gift from Sharon because Sharon designed the Volcano Mining Facility and designed Mazo. So we go from like one end of the spectrum in both the alerts and the raids in terms of difficulty. So I do plan, 100% better have content for Darkside War Factory Elite. I did attempt it today. We had an easy combo. I'm not going to spoil too much of it here, but we had the easy combo. We just kind of not so much wipe, but people had to go at the end of on Darkside, and we did end up wiping. So I have no doubt that we'll clear that because it's easier than I thought it was going to be. But that's because I think there's a couple of mechanics that are a bit tuned down, but that can be corrected. Because right now, I definitely would say that Throwing the Dead Elite, which came out in the first Save the Universe, is much harder presently than Darkside War Factory Elite. But yeah, that's about it. Gonna kill Lex Luthor here. Oh, I should mention as well, when Superboy comes out, you don't have to kill Superboy. I mean, you have a choice to if you want to farm damage, but the fight doesn't end until Lex Luthor is gone. So really, it's just you just stay on Lex Luthor. And really, if I was tanking this, or if you see old videos of the tanking, you should still be able to do it because, I mean, obviously during the AM days you could face tank, and you might still be able to face tank here depending on the damage. But the boss really should be kept at the door in the center because he's got a lot of attacks that face the group, and it's just annoying to have to keep moving around or keep moving. So it's much rather just to have both boxes all towards the top of that room there where that Kryptonian door is. Just keep the boss there. I always face tanked it and kept it there. It's just much easier. But it just depends on your survivability of that aspect. But you just don't want Zod and like Luthor facing the group if you can avoid it.
Superman, you've met Doomsday.
But yeah, I have no doubt in my mind this is going to be just the new comp raid. This is essentially like Panopticon, like Pano Elite, where that was like a comp raid, then turned into QE. I mean, QE's a lot harder than this one is. So after this, we kill some ads in the tunnels, and really that just gets us to Doomsday. I mean, that's it. That's the raid. Doomsday fight, once we get there, I'll kind of talk more about it to it here, but this is just why I was like munitions. Like, you kept up munitions, big gun would wipe all the ads, you'd be like a few million ahead in a comp, and then basically you just have to survive the single target boss damage, because munitions was weaker on boss damage. That's why you switched the head from like big gun 3 to like KI Instincts 3. This is the whole, you'll see lots of footage of like ice DPS where they would switch head mods as well from like supercharged ice elemental. They'd pop ice elemental to get an extra supercharge, then swap their head mod to Ice Bash 3 for the criticals. And it's basically just like Ice SM, or sorry, Ice AM was much more popular in this raid because it's kind of good in all forms in terms of AoE and single target. And then if you knew how to use mental AM properly, I wouldn't say properly because technically it was a glitch, but if you're good with mental and you ruled this one with if you did the one-handed weapon mastery into Mass Terror, most of you guys won't know what I'm talking about, but if you played AMs, you would know that. Also mental with the 2PI instead of using 3PI for this. I do have a video on my channel. Props if you can find it, because there's only like 300 views because it was a part of my old deleted channel. But yeah, that's all. This was just a comp raid. Actually, one piece of little tidbit information, which would be curious if they drop it. On Doomsday Final Boss, these KCT had OP rings. And ironically, it was probably the rarest item in DC because no one ran KCT. If we didn't have to run KCT, no one ran it. So that it made it rare, and it was actually right before one of the survival modes came out. I think it was OA. Yeah, this came out like a few weeks or a month right before OA. So if you're running OSM, you were trying to farm out the OP rings from KCT to just maximize your health as a fire tank, because OA, most SMs in the past like Trigon, Foss was dominated by ice tanks, where OA was the opposite. OA was dominated by fire tanks, because with the health pool they could survive the lanterns, where the lanterns had a much easier chance of killing ice tanks. I mean, ice tanks still had their day in ice elemental form on like General Fabricant and a few others, but generally OSM was dominated by fire tanks, and that's why you wanted those OP rings, so that to get your health as high as possible. I never got the OP rings because what was it? It was Assault and Battery was the first OP rings, and then I think this was the second OP rings. I don't think we had. There was a ring. Besides like the Starro ones, there was I think during like Gods and Monsters and Olympus, there's an OP ring for that too, part of a collection. But yeah, I mean technically they should be on the loot table, so you should be looking out for 2 OP rings. I mean, obviously they're not going to be good for like CR and stat wise. I mean, unless they scale it, which I guess is a possibility as an Easter egg. But the OP hands from the Save the Universe vendor did not scale up. It's the same like base CR 292, I think it was. But it's just a thing for a cool inventory thing if you get the OP items, OP rings from this. Because I remember when Phantom Zone was Save the Universe in Season 1, I did get the OP head. So mechanics-wise in Doomsday, I know I kind of skipped by that. Doomsday is supposed to go through these roll phases where you'll see the icon above his head switch from like a DPS indicator to like a troll indicator, where if he's a DPS indicator, he does his attack that kind of one-shots, not really one-shots a group, it does large damage to the group. The power roll is just drains your power. And then usually you have to take those swords and then just beam the boss to get him out of this phase into normal, like basically to debuff him. But I didn't see any of that occurring. Even in the footage now, I'm not seeing that. You would know what was happening because he would get like an icon around him, around his body, and then it would be above his head, so you would know which phase you'd be in. Because the DPS one, yeah, was annoying. I mean, that's a Spike Quake wave. No one should have died to that because I mean that's the same thing as Devastator. I mean that's the most common Doomsday thing. But yeah, regardless, So it's I see some of the effects like that red field animation. That was a part of his DPS mechanic, so it might still be going on, like his adaptive resistance. It looks like it's damaging me in the combat log. So it could be active, maybe there's just no tells for it. Most commonly it was his power one that just drained your power, which did not happen here. I did not see that phase at all. So maybe the DPS phase is active or staying active, and just there's no animation for it. I don't know. Even like I was talking about at the beginning, the Doomsday mechanics were so forgettable that you just straight burned it anyway. You just ignored it. I mean, no one really died anyway, unless it was the DPS one. You had a chance to die. That was about the only one. Everything else you just kind of damaged through or healed through, so you just ignored the mechanics anyway. Even when it released, you never followed the mechanics on KCT because it was just straightforward. So I know I know this commentary has been like mostly negative or like hasn't shown much optimism, but I mean that's just KCT. You'll hear me be much more merrier and brighter in my Darkside War Factory commentary because Darkside War Factory is one of my favorite raids in the game. That's, like I said before, it's one of the top 5 difficult raids and definitely top 5, maybe even top 3 of my personal favorites. Just because it was a perfect mix of like mechanics and difficulty, boss combos, everything you can ask for in a raid. Darkside War Factory had it. KCT was the opposite; it had nothing. But we can't win them all. So that's Kandor City Tower. Save the Universe Season 2. Take care.